Hey now, welcome to America's leading Formula One podcast. This is the dirty side of the track. I'm your boy Brian Saperstein. That's Rob Vale. Rob, how you doing today, man?
Well, I am doing 100, maybe 150% better than you, my friend. Anyone that is listening to Brian's voice today, no, he's not been out on an all-night cigar binge. He's just not feeling too well. But being the trooper that he is here, meds up to the eyeballs and ready to rock. So,
I mean, Formula One doesn't stop, baby. You know, we are excited to talk about what's going on, and yeah, I apologize for my voice this week, but we're gonna power through.
You've kind of got that kind of Barry White gravel effect going on, so, maybe you're going to do it for some of the lady listeners out there. Or maybe even some of the male listeners, who knows?
I'll take any of the above, but probably not.
Anyway, back to this week. So we've got no race this week, so it will be news and social, pick over the bones of what we've pulled out this week. We will then have a preview of Italy, which will be the next race next week. And then the latest installment, the second installment of our game show, Rob versus Brian, with the format flip round this time. Last time, I think it was find the truth amongst the fakes, and find the fake amongst the truth, and this time we flipped it around the other way. So we had some good feedback from that episode, so that will be making a comeback, along with the ridiculously cheesy music as well. So, yeah, let's dive into...
I mean, I can't say I'm not dancing to the music, and I was going to hold it, but I mean, I am excited. We tied in last episode, a couple episodes ago, we tied in the fake facts. I cannot wait. I made up some really good ones.
I think I have, but now every time I read which one is the truth, I'm like, oh, that sticks out like a sore thumb. But who knows? If you get 4 out of 4, you get 4 out of 4. But whatever. So let's jump over into news and socials. So kind of nothing major really came out news-wise. There was a lot of kind of social activity this week. The one kind of news piece that cropped up was the response of the FIA to the safety car, because there'd been some kind of, well, let's just put it bluntly, there'd been some moaning about the safety car and whether or not it had been going fast enough and allowing them to keep their tyres warm enough, etc. And as if kind of having to defend the honour of the two manufacturers that supplied the safety cars, the FIA put this kind of statement out that went, no, the safety cars are two high-powered performance cars from Aston Martin and Mercedes, and they could go way faster, but the job is to slow everybody down. And it felt like a whole kind of news update of sponsored by State the Obvious. I think this is more that everyone's having trouble getting temperature into the tyres. And I wonder if this is a little bit of a backhanded dig at the new rules by the teams, because obviously they're not allowed to keep the tyres as warm now in the blankets and all this kind of stuff. And the new compound this year seems harder then to get and keep the heat in. So if the safety car is not quite going as fast as the drivers would like, it's even harder for them to keep the tyres warm, I guess. But it just felt like a lot of whinging about nothing.
Well, my favorite part was, so there was a Charles and George press conference, and George said, well, the Mercedes AMG safety car is, about 5 seconds a lap faster than the Aston Martin safety car. And Charles looks over, he goes, well, I'm sure we could put a Ferrari out there and change that even better. And it was like dead silence from George. So I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, lots of complaints. I think it does have to do with getting temperature in the tires. And, the safety car as a whole, we've talked a lot here about some of the benefits of pitting under the virtual or regular safety car. And so I would just note for everyone, yesterday we tweeted out from the @F1 Dirty Side account a really great explanation video from someone named Chain Bear, who I also recommend you follow on YouTube. Just a great visual way to kind of see what the benefit is of pitting under the safety car. So as we cover all things safety car to start the episode, I would just say go check that out if you're interested. It was pretty neat view.
Yeah, and actually, just before we move on from the safety car, the other half of kind of the people moaning about it was it opened up this debate again about, it's not fair that people can pit under safety cars and get benefits, and other people just get bad luck and kind of get screwed over by the safety car timing. And I'm like, well, so what? I I like the things that are outside the control of the teams and throw a curveball in there that the teams have to deal with. Because whether it's Mother Nature bringing in weather or whether it's just random crashing and safety cars coming in, yes, there's always been that debate since... oh, crikey, who was it? Was it Nelson Piquet Jr.? The crash gate when they kind of crashed on purpose to create a safety car to help the teammate, like going back years now. But that's like a one-off. And I like the way it kind of throws that in there and makes them think on their toes and decide when to do their strategy. So I say keep it. Don't change and meddle with the rules. It's there, play with the hand you're dealt.
Well, while we're sitting here on some rants, Rob's about the safety car. I got a rant. I was looking at the new tracks that are coming out, and I kind of have a problem with manufacturing street circuits. And let me explain what I mean. Like, I'm good with the idea...
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Being an actual street circuit. It is an actual street circuit on actual streets. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with real racetracks where they host, MotoGP and F2 and F1 and they do all kinds of racing. Great. But when you make up a street circuit in a car park or along a waterfront or wherever it may be, I don't get it. And so here's my thing. I'm a little nervous about the Miami GP. As an American on America's leading Formula One podcast, I want it to be amazing. I want people to say this is the best race we've had, but they'd originally planned on racing it downtown, and that got kiboshed, and now they're out at the Hard Rock Stadium racing around the parking lot, basically. And it's a permanent track, but I'm really hoping it's good, because I do not like Saudi Arabia, which is what that is. It's a manufactured street circuit. Give me a real street circuit or give me a real racetrack, but please don't make one up in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. Whew, there we go. We've gone in big on two rants to start with.
Right.
Then let's dial it back then, Brian.
All right, let's do that. I want to hit a highlight from last week. Something that we kind of talked a little bit about. Alex Albon, who went the entire race without pitting, and we actually found, Rob and I were trading some notes this week, we found that some of the F1 experience people who go sit and pay money to be right on the track, they basically were allowed out down onto pit lane while Albon's coming out of his pit stop with one lap left. Like, no one anticipated a car pitting at this point and then going back out. If anything, they'd be retiring. But there were people walking along the side of the pit lane as he's coming out. But that's not the reason I'm highlighting this. What I'm highlighting is every week F1 does a power ranking, and it's a mix of journalists and other people's views and how people performed. Charles Leclerc last week obviously got a perfect 10. He had a grand slam in Australia, so that makes sense. But the number 2 ranked driver from the Aussie GP with a 9.4, so pretty darn close, was Alex Albon. How cool is that? That's so cool. I think, and then it's Lando and George, and you keep them there in the 8s. Alex Albon, phenomenal, man. I loved it. I loved his race last week. I love the fact he ended up in the points. Just amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And like we'd said, like last time, it just felt like it went under the radar a little bit until after the race, and all the kind of the news stories have come out this week now. Is like, well, you were there, guys. You could have watched it actually happen, but whatever.
Well, so while we're talking Williams, I got a couple of things I wanted to hit here. I went back and I rewatched some of Spa 2021, which was the farce with the rain. That's what happens when you're nursing off a little COVID. You kind of lay there and you just enjoy watching TV late at night. And so I found a note which was really fascinating to me after realizing and thinking about Spa 2021. Rob, it's a question for you, my man. Are you ready for an early edition of Rob versus Brian? Can you name the 3 drivers to ever take a podium with both Williams and Mercedes? 3 drivers have taken podiums with Williams and Mercedes, and I just mentioned Spa 2021, so I basically gave you one of them.
Russell.
Yeah, of course, Russell. So he got that farcical second place in Spa 2021, and then obviously he got a podium already with Mercedes. So Russell is one of them. Now there are 2 other drivers who have gotten, and I'm thinking you should be able to get one of these 2. Because, let's be honest. Williams has a long storied history. For all the new listeners, Williams has been around forever. Sir Frank built an amazing team, a large stable of drivers, but Mercedes hasn't been around that long. So it's actually the Mercedes side which should help you whittle this down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who's been in the... I mean, it's not Hamilton, because he's only been at McLaren.
Right, not Hamilton.
I don't know where Rosberg was before Mercedes. Valtteri was at Williams as well, wasn't he, in the Martini
correct.
stripe. So I'm going to take Valtteri in his Martini stripe.
Valtteri has 9 Williams podiums and 58 Mercedes podiums. So that is correct.
So who else have we... I'm drawing a blank now. I mean, Rosberg's the only other one, right? Or we had a test driver in there? No, I'm going to have to say Rosberg.
You're correct. Process of elimination worked. Very good. So Rosberg had 2 Williams podiums.
I don't even remember him being at Williams. That's really bad.
I don't either. Been 55 Mercedes podiums. So I just thought that was a cool kind of fact as I was rewatching Spa, and I thought about George's Williams podium, and then I saw that he got the Mercedes podium. I did a little research there. And so the one other thing I would say just from last weekend is Jolyon Palmer on F1 TV did some great analysis of Carlos Sainz's chaotic weekend. And I know we talked about it, so I don't want to belabor it too much, but it was interesting just to see the bad luck from the red flag timing and quali, the car failures that they had trying to get it started and back out, and then he did some overdriving. And we all, we joked about the way he kind of went through the grass. But what's interesting to me is we're about to preview Imola. And it was at Imola last year when Carlos had a little struggle with his Ferrari. And this was the team radio that I found. Again, I had a lot of time on my hands. So here's the team radio from Carlos last year at Imola.
How many mistakes I'm going to do? You are too quick, guy. Calm down.
He was going so fast. He said, how many mistakes am I going to do? And his engineer said, you are too quick, guy. Calm down. How often do you see an engineer on the radio telling the driver to take it easy? Anyway, so I'm really excited for this week coming up in Imola. And I just had 2 last notes that I have to highlight real quick. And these are very important. A, Sky Sports F1 had a 3-minute video where they interviewed Daniel Ricciardo, just came out 3 or 4 days ago, about how much he knew about Australia. And the first 2 facts were pit lane Paul Harris facts. The first one was, what gets more snow, the Australian Alps or the Swiss Alps or whatever it was? And Danny Rick said the Swiss Alps, and he was wrong. And I'm like, I know the answer to that one. I listened to the Dirty Side of the Track at pit lane Paul. And then what percentage of the population of Australia lives along the coast? And we'd heard that from Paul too. So I think Sky Sports is really just ripping off Paul Harris at this point.
Yeah, I think so. We've had a couple of these things now where either it's so blindingly obvious that we're pointing stuff out that it's going to turn up on Sky Sports, or we've got people stealing our content, Brian. I'm definitely going for the latter because it's just, obviously it's gold, right?
It is. It totally is. And my last thing from the week is probably the weirdest part that I want to highlight here. My last thing from this week is I found a TV show, and maybe you've seen it. Maybe all the listeners know about it, and maybe I'm just off on my own here. We all know about Drive to Survive on Netflix and the popularity it's brought to the sport. We've covered it here. A lot of you have watched it. It's fun to watch. However, before Drive to Survive, there was another F1 behind-the-scenes documentary, and it was done by Amazon. It was narrated by Michael Douglas, and it was called Grand Prix Driver, or if I put on my best American, Grand Prix Driver. And it was the 2017 season, and it was embedded with McLaren. It's only 4 episodes. They're about 25 minutes each. And there's some Fernando Alonso, but it's mainly Stoffel Van Dorn. And so it is, I know, it's basically the Stoffel Van Dorn show. And so it's 4 episodes long. It's on Prime, Amazon Prime, Grand Prix Driver. It's narrated by Michael friggin' Douglas. It is so bizarre. And I watched this. I'm like, is this real? Like, how come this didn't catch on? And then Drive to Survive comes out right after it and just does it bigger and better. But anyway, if anyone's bored and you got 4 25-minute periods of time, go check out Grand Prix Driver on Amazon. McLaren 2017. Just it was fascinating. I enjoyed it, but you can definitely see the progression from that to Drive to Survive. So.
I got to be honest, I've never heard of that in my life before. And although it sounds utterly terrible, I'm going to have to go and watch it just to kind of, validate that it is that terrible, because it does sound pretty awful.
I mean, I did have a fever a little bit this week. I'm sure it wasn't a haze. I watched 4 episodes of this thing. I think it's real.
I'd love it if it wasn't, and you've just kind of gone into some kind of hallucination where you've manufactured 4 McLaren episodes narrated by Michael Douglas.
I'm telling you, it is. And it's, please, Rob, go watch it when you have time. It is really hilarious. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I think that kind of pretty much wraps that up. So now all eyes focus forward to Italy. And we are going to Imola for the, I never get this one right, Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.
I think
we'll go with that.
Yeah, that worked for me.
I mean, I thought I was going to accidentally say the Lasagna Grand Prix, but it's going to be the first sprint race of the year. But just to give a little bit of background of this track before we kind of go into what we're going to be seeing next week, for anybody that's kind of new to the sport, they will be doing 63 laps of the 3.08 mile I'm going to mess this one up. Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. There we go. Mamma mia. Commonly known as Imola, which is all I'm going to refer to it as. It's one of the oldest F1 circuits out there, built in 1950. Racing began in 53. 1963 was when it had its first Formula One race.
A non-championship race. Remember we talked about this?
Yeah, the non-championship, the weird
Didn't
thing.
count. But who won it, of course, in the early 60s? We've covered him. Who was the best? Jim Clark.
I see. Crops up everywhere, doesn't he? In
Everywhere.
his Lotus. Lauda's won there. I mean, there's just been some great races down the years. It's been a happy hunting ground for Michael Schumacher. He's got the most wins of any driver there. He's got 7. Williams and Ferrari are the joint constructors with 8 wins each. It's unfortunately got some tragedy in its past as well. Specifically, the weekend in 1994 that saw both Ratzenberger and Senna die out on track, which then led to huge amount of safety changes, not just to Imola itself, but really kind of across Formula One. What else have we got here, Brian? We've got pole positions. Senna leads the way with 8 here, and Schumacher behind him with 5. What else do you want to pull out of the bones on this one?
But before we hit the 2021 and 2020 seasons, let's talk a little bit about the sprint, just for everyone's benefit. So last year there were 3 sprint races. This year there are again 3 sprint races. Imola was 1. Austria towards the end of the first half of the season is 2. And then Interlagos had one last year, has one again this year later in the year. But there are 2 big changes I would highlight. And as I try to highlight these, I want to make sure I kind of explain the sprint for people it's newer to. So what will happen is there'll be practice on Friday, but then there'll be qualifying later in the day on Friday. There'll be practice on Saturday, and then the sprint race will be Saturday afternoon, evening, and then the race itself is Sunday. So that's the format. Last year, there was a big kerfuffle about who actually got pole position. And the way they had it set in order to make the sprint mean something was pole was who won the sprint. That has changed. It's more commonsensical this year. So now whoever wins quali wins pole position. That's what it's called. That's the official pole position winner. You won pole by winning qualifying like you would at any other race. What happens, though, is the order of qualifying is how you end up on the grid for the sprint on Saturday. It's a 100-kilometer dash. I don't know how many laps that'll end up being here. It's 25 or so, 30, whatever it may be. And so they'll do that race. And then however they come out of the sprint is how you're ordered on the grid on Sunday. And the second big difference is last year they gave points for the sprint. So if you won, you got 3 points. If you were second, you got 2 points. And if you're third, you got a point. This year, though, they're paying the top 8 positions, which is big. I mean, that's a lot of points they're handing out. So winning the sprint is now 8 points. That's a lot of points. I mean, that is a boatload of points. And so you see, and then down to 8th where you get 1 point. decreasing from 8 to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So those are the two big changes. More points being handed out, and the winner of the qualifying is the one who technically has the pole position award. But I would just say from a fantasy perspective, there's extra points available. If you haven't used a Mega Driver, this might be an opportunity. Or if I'm really going behind the scenes, I'm going to save mine for Austria because there might be streaks involved at that point, which I still don't understand.
No, I've got no clue. I got no clue about those either. But so this time around, the person who is sitting on the position 1 on the grid on Sunday as the lights go out won't necessarily be the pole holder.
Correct.
I see. I do. I get why they went back the other way to make it consistent and say if you finish top of the leaderboard after qualifying, that's pole position. Okay, that makes sense. Now you can kind of compare then down the years people's qualifying performance from generations to generations. It's just going to be weird that, if I get pole for the sprint and then I end up finishing third in the sprint, the pole position driver is going to be starting third in the race, which
someone will start P1. They just may not have one pole position.
And does that then add an extra dimension to what people will start referring to as the Grand Slam? Because do you have to be pole position and sprint winner and race winner and win the race? And fastest lap.
Yeah, what's beyond a Grand Slam? I don't even...
A bigger slam. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. What's 5 of something? Anyway, no, great questions. I'm just curious to watch.
The points is, it's going to be interesting because they're kind of trying to tempt the teams to do a bit more racing in sprint. I felt people were trying to play it safe a little bit last year. The sprints were good. I actually quite enjoyed them, but you could still see that teams don't want to go all out. I can't risk crashing in the sprint and not taking part in the race. And actually, someone will probably know this. We always tend to get people come and point out the errors of our ways on Twitter after we've said something, but the cost cap for me at the moment isn't panning out the way that I think they were hoping it was going to. I believe that they brought the cost cap in to try to stop the big, powerful, rich teams just being able to shoot off into the distance and try to even the playing field so that smaller teams can compete. But what seems to happen is it seems to be putting those smaller teams more under the microscope. I mean, if they could all spend the same amount of money, then great. But the teams near the back of the grid are going to be crashing more often, as we've seen with Aston Martin. And it now seems like I don't know what happens if they burn through all their cars. Do they have to sit out for the I mean, I don't know what happens there. And it feels like if you do want to level the playing field, couldn't you do some kind of budget cap that was in reverse order of last year's constructors? So the people that win it get the least to spend and the people that come in last have got the most to spend.
Or how is it doled out? Like, what's the cap apply to, right? Is there size of team, salaries, staff members, and then for things like, keep like Aston Martin's weekend last weekend, can you get a dispensation where, new engines or whatever may be don't come out of that?
Maybe replacement parts, just ensuring that you can keep a car on track has to be the top priority,
It's not infinite development, but rather it's really there shouldn't be a penalty to keeping a car on track, like you said.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if that kind of those 8 finishes for points now kind of tempts people into a bit more wheel-to-wheel racing, because with only 3 up for grabs last year, if you knew you weren't finishing in the top 3, then just put the thing into cruise control and bring it home. There was no incentive there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this one pans out. Because like I say, I liked the sprint format. I just wasn't sure that the sprint race was all it could be because just those 3 positions were paying points.
Well, it'll be fun. And then I know you have some notes from last year's Imola race. My favorite from a couple years ago in 2020, George Russell, who had never scored a point yet in F1, was leading behind the safety car early on in the race. And no one assumed he would hold that position and win, but he was in the points and a chance at holding into the points. And he was warming up his tires, coming around one of the finely Italian-named corners, and he's warming up his tires, and he bins it behind the safety car. He gave it a little too much gas and went flying into the wall behind the safety car. So he's not going fast. And it was I was watching it like it was a Crofty kind of moment where you just expected.
What has happened?
I mean, just it made no sense. Behind the safety car, weaving to put some heat in his tires, and he completely crashed and was out of the race. So that was a crusher in 2020. And then George obviously had some history in 2021. You want to highlight a couple of those things, Rob?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that 2021 kind of, he's got some, let's just say he's got some history with him, hasn't he? Because last year it was that high speed coming together, 200 miles an hour. Him and Bottas came together, spun out, big smash. And then rather than, as he got out of the car and he was going over to Valtteri, at first I thought he was getting out to go and check that he was okay, because it had been a pretty high speed crash, debris everywhere. But you could tell by the body language that he probably wasn't. And then when he got there, he essentially tried to, well, it looked like he was going to almost like try to punch him in the head, but he's wearing a helmet, so I'm like, what's the point of doing that? But after he kind of vented on him, Valtteri responded by flipping in the bird. And I just, do you know what? George went down in my estimations a little bit that day, because when you've had a big shunt like that, you know, if you're going to get angry, do that back in the paddock, right? Don't do it as the first thing you do when you go over to a car that's in pieces, is go and start trying to attack the driver. And it went down, the stewards looked into it, and it kind of went down as a racing incident. But I think the majority of pundits on the day kind of put the fault at Russell's door there. And even if it wasn't, even if it was pure racing incident down the middle and there was nobody at fault, then Russell doesn't need to lose it like that at Valtteri. If it was a clear Valtteri has swiped him out, okay, fine. You can understand why the blood is boiling and he wants to go and get revenge. But yeah, that was a big old hit, that was. And I think we had the red flag came out at that point. And that kind of helped Hamilton to some degree, because he'd had a shocker. He'd got pole ahead of the two Red Bulls, and he'd gone off track and damaged his car and was down in ninth, but after the restart kind of drove his way all the way back up to second and bagged the fastest lap as well. So he kind of had a pretty good comeback. I'm not sure I'm seeing that kind of performance from Mercedes this week, if I'm honest. It's a high-speed circuit, so they keep saying that Red Bull have got the pace advantage at the moment. But they said that last week, and they said that, you know, Ferrari were looking over their shoulder because they were worried. And there was a story about the Ferrari team had instructed, what did I read? That they were tweaking an extra 5 horsepower they allocated to that car to try to fend off the pace advantage from Red Bull, which is interesting in two ways. A, that they've got more in the tank that they could decide to apply if they need it. So, yeah, we don't want to use all our power. And secondly, that actually it didn't seem to need to be needed, because even before Max had to retire, he never really, even when they got bunched back up after the safety car, yes, Charles messed up the restart. I thought that would make him a sitting duck for Max to go past him, but just didn't seem to have the pace. So interested to see what happens this week, which is going to be really difficult for fantasy selections.
It's going to be super difficult for fantasy selections. I'm just curious to see how much porpoising we get out of these teams. Speaking of Ferrari... Yeah, go ahead. No,
okay, so talking of porpoising. So yesterday, we were on vacation down in Delaware this week for the kids' spring break. Fantastic place. I didn't really know what to expect. We had a great time. But on the way back, on the 5-hour drive back, there is a section of interstate by Newark Airport where the road is just terrible. And it undulates.
It's called New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, it's called New Jersey. It undulates something chronic. And you're kind of doing, 70 miles per hour, and it undulates in perfect rhythm with the car's suspension. So I'm there, essentially porpoising down the interstate, thinking, this is horrible in an SUV with good suspension at 70 miles per hour. I can't even think what it must be like in those things. So, yeah, that's me trying to claim that I experienced porpoising this weekend, but maybe not.
I mean, you know what? I appreciate the insider's view of what porpoising is actually like. You've nailed it. Now we all know. Hey, so we were talking about Charles. Just real quick, I want to thank everyone who voted. We put a poll out this week. Just curious where the Twitter mindset was. 4 options. 1, Charles is going to be champ. 2, why are you asking so early? 3, Max will make up the DNFs. And 4, it's going to be somebody else. And 53% of participants think Charles is going to be champ. And then by far the next largest one was, why are you asking so early? So I'm excited to see where the season goes. I appreciate everyone participating in the poll. I don't think Charles has it locked down as much as the poll may say, but he's definitely the leader in the clubhouse. I mean, he's had 3 pole positions. He's finished first, second, and first. So he hasn't put a foot wrong. this season. And while we talk about fantasy before, just a quick note, we joke about the complexities of some of the scoring and the way some of it's done. I'm not trying to maximize my dollar amount of my team. I'm just trying to get the best drivers in each week. And Rob, you've pointed out here, rightfully so, they're doing a better job this year of having values change so that people see some of that appreciation or depreciation. But at F1 Fantasy Tips noted this week that Haas, who had 13 points total at the weekend, are rising incredibly quick after Aussie GP. He found 80 new accounts inside the F1 game, all of them pushing Haas. And then it was found that Reddit has a Discord running where people were pumping and dumping Haas, trying to get an extra $500,000 for their teams. And I found that sort of disgusting, if I'm being honest. I just want to play some F1 fantasy sports. I don't want to have to worry about someone game stopping the whole situation here. Like, come on, man. Why do people do that?
I'll admit it was me in a kind of a desperate attempt to try to claw back ground on you. And I've got the Haas drivers. Then I needed some extra cash, so I just got my army of 80,000 Reddit followers, and we went to town. No, I'm with you. It's
why do people do that? I don't understand.
It's the same as going back quite a few years now when I used to play Call of Duty. And it was a thing, late night Call of Duty sessions, until eventually the servers just got completely crowded with people that had all these special devices, pause switches and all this kind of stuff so that they could essentially just destroy everybody on the map. And it's like, why? Why do you have to ruin it for everyone? So then it just everybody starts wading in trying to counter the cheaters with the cheats of their own, and before you know it, it's just pointless. So, anyway.
We're not doing that at the dirty side. We're just putting in our best lineups. And my last note, I promise, before we get to the game show, last note that I have is I'd posed the question and said, had anyone remembered non-sequential tire compounds? Rob, feel free to take a quick nap. And so I'd asked about this, and I did a little bit of research, as I promised I would. And I don't think there's a rule. I can promise you a couple years ago there were non-sequential tire compounds, because now we are used to the C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. 5 dry compounds, they bring 3 to a race. If you go back just a handful of years ago, and I totally had forgotten about this, I totally blanked, you can look at the Pirelli range. So even before there were other manufacturers there, we had the white Hypersofts, the pink Ultra Softs, the red Super Softs, the yellow Softs, the white Mediums, and the blue Hards. Holy cow. So they would often bring non-sequentials when they had this larger range to races. So I don't believe there's any kind of rule. It's just now that they've kind of standardized, and for the last couple years they'd always been sequential, to see it non-sequential was just a little jarring at the Aussie GP. But so just to answer my own question, and for the 3 listeners out there who actually care about tires, we nailed it. Now we can just see if Checo's going to check in, see if Rob's still awake.
Are you still awake? Still going. Jet lag.
That was actually team radio from the end of Aussie. It was such a boring race for Checo. He actually texted or tweeted into his engineer there, "Are you still awake?" over the radio, he asked.
I did. I drifted off again then as you were speaking about tyres. I just had a weird dream about Michael Douglas narrating a program on tyres, but
you gotta watch it. Grand Prix Driver on Amazon, or as you would say, Amazon.
While you were just while you were just talking about tyres, I just checked on Amazon Prime, and it doesn't exist. You made it up.
I don't think I did. But speaking of making it up, it is time for America's favorite F1 game show. It is time for Rob versus Brian and F1 Fake Facts. The question is, who will take home the trophy today? Rob, you want to kind of explain the way we're structuring it? You mentioned it briefly, but how we're structuring it this week?
Yeah, so we got four sets of questions each. Each question is going to have 3 completely made-up fake facts and one truth nugget buried within there. I will ask Brian my 4 options, and Brian simply has to find the truth. So that's the way it will go. We'll go back and forward 4 times. and see if we actually get a winner this week, because if we don't, we were really lax in trying to come up with a tiebreaker solution. So if it's a tie, it's a tie, and we promise a tiebreaker next time.
Sounds good. I'm going to ask you first, because I think you went first last time.
I did.
I think you did. So here we go. We are ready. I'm so excited. My hands are getting sweaty again. Here we go. Number 1. James Hunt used to, in addition to puking often before races when he was starting out, he would take a couple shots of vodka to calm his nerves before races, again mainly in his early years as he started out. 2. Damon Hill used to put cold tea in his water bottle when racing in F1. The reason being that as it heated up during the race, he'd have hot tea as the race ended. Number 3. Eddie Irvine once raced while ill and had to box to change his helmet as he'd thrown up in his helmet. This was Monaco 01, and Ferrari didn't want him going back out, but he argued he got it all out of himself at this point. He did complete the race. And number 4, Lewis Hamilton used to ask for Avion water to be loaded in his drinks compartment when he joined Mercedes, saying it just tasted better. After a handful of years, he apparently no longer had a preference in terms of what water was put in his water bottle.
Okay, I'm kicking that one out. I'm kicking the water one straight out. I don't know why I'm kicking the water out as a fake.
Which Hamilton's water choice?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. That's and if that's the truth, then I've already nuked it on the first ejection. So we'll get rid of that one. I'm also going to get rid of... I'm going to get rid of Eddie Irvine. I don't know why, but I am. So I'm down to James
You don't think he
Hunt.
threw up in his helmet? Okay. So
James Hunt or Damon Hill, at completely opposite ends of the bizarre spectrum. We've got vodka or tea.
Well, and again, remember, the tea was, he put it in cold, so
Yeah.
And Hunt was only in the beginning of his career, he had famously had nerves, and so it was just a shot before the race. It was early years.
Okay, being as I've trashed this drink, saying that I don't drink it despite being British, I'm going to stick to my British roots. I'm going to say it's Damon Hill with his cup of tea.
Yes!
Oh, bad start for me. You are correct, sir.
Oh,
ding, ding, ding.
man.
Very nice.
Man.
That is a fact. Damon Hill would put cold tea in his water. I even Googled it, and I found him tweeting about it. And so that is accurate.
Okay, right. You ready for your first one to try to find the truth in these 4?
Oh, I'm totally ready. Don't let the fact that I'm ill, and if I miss any, those two things aren't correlated at all.
Okay, right. Okay. Number 1. Niki Lauda may be famous for swapping his trophies for car washes, but Fangio melted many of his trophies down and used the precious metal to make Egyptian crowns, as he did not see the point of trophies but liked to wear crowns. Number 2. A van full of nuns once found 2 naked race drivers kissing by the side of the track in Belgium. Number 3. Silverstone was once delayed due to a racehorse from a nearby stables escaping. However, one of the BAR pit crew was a skilled rider and managed to calm the horse and ride it to safety. Number 4. Jarno Trulli once missed the start of the first practice session in Japan as he was late coming back from riding the famous Ferris wheel at the circuit.
What?
So, 3 fakes, 1 truth.
One of those is real? How is that possible? All right. One of those is real. I'm going to go with Truly and the Ferris wheel because, I don't know. That's where I'm going. No, I got that wrong. Hold on, let me get the sound effect here. Oh man, what was the real one?
Okay, so it's
the nuns and the racing drivers.
So Graham Hill, and he told this story brilliantly, but people are a little bit skeptical. There might have been some embellishment in the story, but Graham Hill once saw Jackie Stewart leave the track and punch a hole through a wall of bushes at the Spa Grand Prix. He stopped and went and pulled him free of the car. They were both then soaked in flammable liquid, so he stripped them both and then started giving CPR to Jackie Stewart because he didn't think he was breathing. At that point, the Spa medical team arrived in a van, which happened to be a group of nuns.
No way, that's amazing.
There we go. Once I saw, I just thought you'd get that because it was so stupid. I couldn't have made that up. Why would I?
I don't know. I don't know. You know what? Man, I wanted to say that, but it seemed even worse. I couldn't believe that to be true. Oh,
Okay.
I'm in a 1-0 hole, but here we go. Round two. Number 1. 1985 F1 world champion Alain Prost was famously quoted as saying his McLaren was a piece of pig in preseason testing. But as the car evolved and he got used to it, it obviously worked for him and they won the Constructors' Championship. 2. Eric Comas, who ran the LaRousse, I think I pronounced that right, Ford, in 94, got 2 points. This is when you needed to be 6th or better to get points. But his claim to fame came off the track when he starred in 1996's The Rock as one of the militia who held The Rock. He only had one spoken line, so starred maybe a little bit. He had one spoken line. Number 3. Slim Borgud was a drummer for ABBA, and he was also an F1 driver for ATS and Tyrrell. The Tyrrell car even had the ABBA logo as an unpaid sponsorship on it. And number 4, Nelson Piquet, after finally retiring from motorsport, served 1 term as mayor of Rio de Janeiro. He did not run for re-election, but said he enjoyed his time as mayor.
Okay, I'm going to be quick on this one this time. I go gut reaction, and you could have suckered me in big time here, but because you gave the extra insight of how many lines he had in the film, I'm going to go for the I can't remember who it was you said who had the spoken line in the Rock movie. Ah, no! You got me with the extra details.
I did. I made that up completely. It was actually the drummer for ABBA, or early drummer for ABBA, raced in Formula One, Slim Borgud, for ATS and Tyrrell. And yes, the car had the ABBA logo on it as an unpaid sponsorship. He put it on there himself. I made up the Comas in The Rock. I made up Alain Prost saying the car was a piece of pig. And then Nelson Piquet was not the mayor of Rio, even though he is Brazilian.
Okay. Right. Now for your next one. Now my first one,
my chance to get back into it.
It is. Now for my first one, I should have given the theme. They were just silly stories. These 4 are reasons for retiring. So are you ready? Okay. Number 1. Lando Norris once blamed an F2 retirement on playing too many video games. He'd use a button combination that he knew by heart from a racing game instinctively at an opportune moment, and unfortunately had the effect of stalling the car. Number 2. The first season post the removal of refueling being allowed, Heinz-Harald Frentzen retired from the race after his team fueled him according to his 2-stop pit strategy, meaning he ran out of fuel. It was blamed on a technical failure and only came to light years later. Number 3. Mark Webber once threw up inside his helmet and spun out as a result.
What? What is with the helmet vomit?
I know. Number 4. A mechanic left a spanner in a car which got stuck under the pedals, causing Johnny Herbert to spin out of the race in '98.
Oh, man. So I actually do know people have had problems with wrenches, as we would call them, in the cockpits and interfering with cars. Seb Vettel actually once had something loose between his legs.
There's something loose between my legs.
So, that's, it happens. I don't know about the helmet vomit. I should have done more research on my fake fact. Maybe I would have run across the helmet vomit. Lando Norris, buttons. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you do on a steering wheel, but it's not like a game button, I don't think. And what was the second one?
Heinz-Harald Frentzen retired after his team fueled him just out of habit for the 2-stop strategy, despite the fact this was the first year that refueling was not allowed.
That feels good. That feels like a good one, too. So, I'm either going with Johnny Herbert and the spanner in the cockpit, or I'm going with Heinz-Harald Frentzen not getting enough gas. I'm going to say Johnny Herbert, spanner in the cockpit. I got it?
Yep.
Yes!
All right, tied it up.
So, Mark Webber, because it was interesting, you did the Eddie Irvine throwing up. Mark Webber did throw up inside his helmet, but not enough to cause him to spin out. He came in, they wanted him to stay in, he went out. He did really, really, really super well, but then he crashed into Vettel later on in the race, but nothing to do with puke inside his visor, so... Right, okay, next one.
All right, halfway through, we're tied at 1. Round number 3. Are you ready, Robert?
Yes, I am.
Here we go. Number 1. Despite an impressive junior career, winning Le Mans and driving in 158 F1 races, and scoring 9 podiums, Martin Brundle never led a lap. Number 2. Wilhelm Keitel drove 2 races for Maserati in 1954 and 1 race in 1955. However, as he was further along in his career and his skills were diminishing, he was let go, but the likely reason he was dropped, it was an actual member of the Nazi political party. Number 3. Esteban Ocon grew up in a modest family. We've all seen it on Drive to Survive. At least he wasn't rich, is what I'm trying to say. And while he was active in karting, his first job was at a McDonald's in Évreux, France, which he worked during the week. And number 4, Circuit Paul Ricard in France was built in 1969. Before that land had housed a Renault factory, and which was shuttered after they consolidated Renault manufacturing into other plants. So they built the track on a Renault factory.
Oh, man. I mean, going back to the 1950s, I mean, yeah, look, I remember that one. What was your first one? That Brundle never led a lap?
Yeah, 9 podiums, 158 races, never led a lap. Number 2, a Nazi was an F1.
Yeah, no, just like the first one.
Number 3, Esteban McDonald's, and number 4, Paul Ricard, built on an old Renault factory.
I'm going to say you went too stereotypical for French cars, and Brundle.
Damn it!
Yes.
Yes.
That is
Takes the
correct.
lead.
Martin Brundle never led a lap. In 158 F1 races, 12-year F1 career, 9 podiums. There's actually a lot of interesting stories behind Brundle's career. He raced for a team, and I'm forgetting off the top of my head, who actually disqualified for an entire year. But anyway, Martin Brundle never led a lap in his career.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Are you ready to try to tie it up now with weird stories of men in power?
I am.
Okay, here we go then. Eddie Jordan wanted the Honda Civic hot hatch that was released to commemorate their superb 1999 season to be called the Civic Eddie. He threatened to drop Honda as they refused to name it his way, and eventually settled on the Civic Jordan. In one final compromise, they did put Eddie's silhouette on the gear stick. Number 2, Jean Todt used to be a rally co-driver. In 1981, as Guy Freckelen's co-driver in a Talbot Peugeot, he cost the team the championship for having one page of his directions upside down, resulting in a crash. Number 3, Toto Wolff actually owns a wolf, and its name is Africa. Number 4, Bernie Ecclestone was friends with one of the great train robbers who was a silversmith. When he came out of prison, he was unable to get a job, so Bernie commissioned him to make an F1 trophy.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So, yeah. So Eddie Jordan does strike me as someone who would say I'd want, a car named after me, but I don't see road cars getting F1 team names, so I'm going to pass on that guy. Jean Todt, I'm sure he might have been a rally driver. Page upside down. I mean, you'd catch that quickly, I would think. And then Toto, why would he have an actual wolf? I struggle with that one. But Bernie is a very eccentric person, and he's had, if I remember right, many wives, and he's been in many kerfuffles and said a lot of bad stuff, and he's kind of a freewheeling kind of guy. I could totally see him hiring some person out of jail to smelt together the first trophy, so I'm going to say Bernie.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, what killed me on this one, maybe, is that I forget that you're not from the UK. So, Eddie Jordan...
I am not from the UK. It's hard to remember sometimes. But yeah,
Jordan did release a hot hatch. It was the Honda Civic, and it was the Civic Jordan. It was bright yellow, it was a Type R, it had leather seats, it was totally obnoxious, overpowered, boy racing. I mean, it was a rocket on wheels, and it had every little piece of trim going. And so kind of knowing, if you'd known that car and known how outrageous it was, to think that maybe Eddie had his silhouette put on the gear stick, you might have gone for it. But being as you didn't even think there was a Formula 1 car themed road car, then that kind of blew that one out of the water for me.
I mean, I just didn't think it would be backwards, integrated. But yeah, okay.
Okay,
all right. We're tied at 2 going into the final round.
Oh no!
Don't screw this up, Rob. No pressure. No pressure. All right, here we go. Number 1, Olivier Panis was once black flagged for a pit stop infringement and then subsequently not returning to serve a stop-go penalty. However, he claims to this day to not have known this and just finished the race normally, obviously disqualified. Number 2, F1 changed the point scoring system in 2010 to include more drivers and give out more points. It was at this point that the fastest lap point was included for the first time ever. Number 3, the last American to run in F1 was IndyCar champion Helio Castroneves in 5 races in 2012 for Toyota. And number 4, Jenson Button was once given a 70-place grid penalty in Mexico when all of his penalty points were added up.
Oh, man. I was going for... You see... Oh, man. I was going to go for Parnis and the not stopping until you hit me with the Button one, but now I'm hoping you're not just swapping the driver over on me, because I'm sure that happened to somebody that had a ridiculous number of places that could never be served in a single race, but they still gave it out. So I'm going to have to go for Button.
Darn it, that is correct.
Yes. Oh,
that is accurate.
Now let's crank the pressure handle up.
Well, a couple notes. I mean, I can't do it. I mean, I'm obviously, there's no chance I'm going to tie it. But so I fibbed a little. I actually found some interesting info. The fastest lap point was given from 1950 to 1959, and then it was stopped. It did come back in 2010, but it wasn't the first time ever. So there was this huge gap from 1959 to 2010 where they didn't give a point for fastest lap, but it wasn't a new thing when they added it. Helio Castroneves is Brazilian, not American. He did test in Toyota in 2002. Toyota wasn't in F1 in 2012. And the last American to drive an F1 was Alexander Rossi, 5 races in 2015. But yeah, you nailed it. Button was given a 70 place grid drop in Mexico. He received penalties, 25 places for Honda changing the engine and various components, 25 places for the same parts being changed again for a different practice session, 10 places for a new turbocharger, and 5 places for a new control electronics. That's 70 place grid drop in Mexico. So you got it, Rob. Congratulations, man.
Right, well, over to you now to tie it up or lose. Right, okay.
Those are the options? All right.
Yeah,
great.
tie it up or lose. Number 4 for me is track facts, bizarre track facts. Are you ready, sir?
I guess. Let's go for it.
Okay.
What's the worst that can happen? I lose? I lose.
Okay, first one is about Monaco. Ascari once crashed so badly in Monaco that his car left the track and ended up in the middle of the marina, and he had to swim back to the track. Number 2, additional walls had to be installed in Singapore as the glass-fronted buildings near the grandstand were creating a mirror effect which was distracting the drivers. Number 3, French President Francois Mitterrand was good friends with Guy Ligier, the owner of the Ligier F1 team. As Mitterrand had grown up in the area around Magny-Cours, Ligier convinced him to wager the upgrade of the track to accommodate F1 events on a game of poker. Ligier won, and Mitterrand kept his word and sanctioned the funds to upgrade the track. And number 4, back before higher guardrails and multiple cameras were in place, in the late 1950s, several drivers were accused of cheating on the figure 8 section of Suzuka by driving down the hill to cut the corner.
Oh boy. So I don't think they were at Suzuka that early. So I'm gonna exclude that one. I'm gonna say that the light reflection in Singapore, that's pretty much always a night race, right? So I don't know where the reflection would come from. I assume they'd angle the lights correctly. What was number 1 again?
Ascari once crashed so badly at Monaco.
Yeah, no, he's not swimming out of a car. Come on now. I mean, I think it's 3. It was very detailed. I think it was the the French
Francois
President
Mitterrand.
Yeah, the poker game. Oh no!
Yes! I got you back with the extra details, bringing you in.
Oh God! I lost to Rob. Oh, recap it for me there.
So Suzuka. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think they were there in the 50s, but I had to go early enough that there wouldn't have been cameras to catching people trying to drop down the hill and under the bridge. So no, that wasn't true. Mitterrand, it was political. There's some kind of political shenanigans going on with Magny-Cours, but it was nothing to do with a game of poker. Additional walls to be installed in Singapore. Yeah, you're right. I kind of threw that in there as I thought maybe the glare of the floodlights might kind of think he was getting a reflection. Ascari did bin his car and put it into the water in Monaco, and he had to swim back to the track.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was going down kind of like researching this one, and that kind of cropped up. I was just putting like the name of a track and then bizarre facts after it. So like there was Hockenheim, bizarre facts. There was this, that, bizarre facts. And then I got to Monaco, and Ascari The one that I never got to do, I was going to do, but then I thought the three that I'm going to have to come up with as fake ones behind it would just be too risque, maybe, was that I found one that... This was the truth, right? This is the truth. James Hunt confirmed his Playboy image during a trip to Tokyo, where he slept with 33 British Airways stewardesses over a 2-week period. Now, the three that I was going to have to come up with to try to put something on the level playing field, I just thought, nah, stay away from that. Keep it clean, Rob. Keep it clean.
Well, Rob, you are today's Fake Facts champion.
Yes!
Very proud of you. You nailed it. You got me.
I am going to go and build myself a podium. I'm going to stand on top of it. I'm going to pop champagne cork everywhere. That's what I'm doing.
You should. I enjoyed it. I hope the listeners did as well. We do not have a 100 Seconds of DRS guest this week, partially because I've been a little too ill to get it scheduled. But we will fix that for next week. And of course, as we said, Imola this coming weekend. Remember, for all the Fantasy Dirty Siders, lineups lock at Quali, which will be Friday. I don't know the timing exactly, but it'll be Friday at some point, evening, afternoon. So keep an eye on that. So it'll be a day earlier than usual. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for listening in. We look forward to recapping Imola next weekend. And I just wanted to say, Rob, thanks, man, for beating my butt so badly at Fake Facts this time.
I do feel a little bad because you're ill, so it's kind of like kicking him out while he's down. But, you know, that feeling pretty much ebbed away pretty quickly, so I'm quite happy about it now. So,
You punk.
and just on the 100 Seconds of DRS, we've got a pretty good group on Facebook, which is Formula One in New York City. They've been pretty receptive to some of our posts, which has been fantastic. We've put a post up there about joining in on the 100 Seconds of DRS, and again, had some good feedback that people are willing to do it. So we're going to get our bums in gear, sort out a calendar for people to sign up on, and we'll get a few of them recorded so that we can lay them out over the next few weeks, because it's good fun. It's great talking to you guys. Yeah, like we said, between Brian being ill and me being on vacation, it kind of didn't pan out this week, but we will be back with DRS soon. So yeah, looking forward to Italy. Thanks to everyone for listening, and keep it on the dirty side.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.